to introduce you to Divyo Kuhlmann, which is a very important person in my life. She is a psychologist from Germany, and she helped me in my process of adaptation to this country, America, which is continue to happening. And I got a lot of individual session with her, and I set up a lot of constellation. And I want to introduce also to her work, which is Family Constellation. She is a facilitator in Family Constellation method of Berta Hellingera. Divyo, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background, where you came from, and how did you come to this approach, Family Constellation?
So I grew up in Münster in northern Germany. I was born after the Second World War and really felt passionate to want to find out more about life. And that's how I came to study psychology at Westphalian Wilhelms University, and was immediately, even as a student, starting to give classes and retreats, a lot of them in retreat centers with Catholic carriers. And at some point my path also took me to go into meditation, and I went to India.
I know you changed your civil name to spiritual name. Can you tell something
My
about
mother
it?
calls me Mariel Kuhlmann. And when I went to India, part of the teaching and part of this process was to really move away from our roots and to find our own independent flame. And I was with a wonderful enlightened teacher and master in India, and in his ashram for many years.
And what is his name?
And his name is Osho, or before called Bhagwan. And
I know Osho is very famous in Russia.
Oh, yes, we had. I remember some of the beautiful Russian music in the ashram, which always warmed my heart.
We have a lot of his books translated to Russian.
Beautiful.
And how did you ended up in America?
It's because I met my husband. We were both seekers on the path, and so at some point when we got together in Germany, it was more difficult for him to make a living, and so he felt like it's time to go back to his home country. And we came to Sedona because also we have mutual German friends and a beautiful community here.
And I know that you study from Berta Hellingera this approach, Family Constellation. How was it?
It's really interesting because many years back I had the opportunity to get involved, and I was just so deeply involved with everything that came with our teacher then around meditation. So I wasn't open to it, and then later, like about 15 years ago or so, a little bit later actually, let's say 8-9 years ago, I was challenged in my own personal life and reached out, and then when I was introduced to this work, it was just such an eye-opener and just shifted everything in my life. And ever since then, it's been just an ongoing expansion and growth experience. And it has transformed the way I work with people. And I'm so grateful for the way that it has helped me become stronger for myself.
And what is Family Constellation for you? How you can explain this?
The way that I understand it, it's a way to bring those forces, those hidden and invisible forces that move us and drive us in life and can cause all kind of conflicts that we don't even know sometimes where it comes from or why it is so difficult to overcome a pattern, that it brings these forces out into the open so that everything that moves us becomes more tangible. And as we start to see what's driving us instinctually and through our subconsciousness, suddenly we can see where or when it doesn't serve harmony, and we can then make adjustments. And in this work we include the invisible world, we include the living and the dead.
So family field.
Yes, it's a way that actually everybody carries along with them their own family history, everything that happened in the past. The lives, the hardship, the losses of the ancestors, any guilt, any grief, when it hasn't been addressed, it tends to cause repercussions, and the younger ones end up taking on some of that suffering in an attempt to make it right, in an attempt to love the ones that brought them, in an attempt to really feel that they belong to the lineage, as a way of wanting to honor the ones that have been there.
So, and we need to accept all your family member. You cannot exclude anybody. What can happen if we are doing this?
Beautiful. So one of the things that Berta Hellingera, the founder of this work, discovered is what he calls the orders of love. And this is an aspect of the work to realize that there are certain orders in life, that there is a hierarchy, that people that came before us have a higher ranking with all its implications. And also that everybody has a right to belong and be a part and be included and be accounted for. So that even if a child dies prematurely, we are not to forget about them. But if we do, because the memory may be too painful, then younger ones will get entangled. They will take on the suffering and try to bring memory back.
And I can prove this with my example, because I had problem with money and I couldn't keep money. I wanted to spend everything, and in this constellation I found out that my granddad was sent to Siberia because he was a rich farmer, and I understood that his movement and his wish to get rid of money, to save his family, came to me, to my experience. And when we did this work, all of a sudden our problem was solved, and I could get my business develop better, and it helped me. Thank you.
I remember the constellation and the deep, deep, deep love and respect for grandfather, who paid such an amazing price for being successful and being great in life, and how somehow in the attempt of wanting to honor him, that it was hard for you to really flower and financially and with your work.
Yes, and we worked with the Russian government also.
That's right.
Bolsheviks.
That's right, we did.
And it helped me a lot.
And it did, yes.
And can you give some other examples of amazing work or results which you got to yourself or your clients? Do you have something in your mind?
I remember an African American woman, a young, beautiful woman, had just gone through cancer therapy, and she came to Sedona to now really do everything to heal herself, so she could be well and also that she could enjoy the life she has. And we actually did a one-on-one session, a private session, and she was using pillows to lay out the family structure. And it was quite amazing because she had lost 3 brothers at the age of 2 and younger, and all for different causes. Mm-hmm. And when I had her lay out the family, she was placing herself, her sisters, her parents. First, she didn't even remember to include all those deceased brothers that she had lost. And then when I asked her to, she kind of dumped the pillows in the back of the room. And I asked her to stand next to one of those pillows. And suddenly all the memory came back. And she was shaking and crying. And I asked her to step out. And we were trying to get a sense what is going on, because that would be a red flag. So many of the boys died and all the girls got to live. And it wasn't obvious, and her father died prematurely, and so did her uncle. So there's this feeling that what's going on in the male side. So eventually I asked her, now tell me, what is the family secret? And then reluctantly she told me that her great-grandmother, being a slave back then, had been raped by the slave master. And suddenly it became clear how it caused all these repercussions. You know, there must have been a pregnancy out of that, probably a male child. And now great-grandmother looks at this baby and she sees the perpetrator in him. So over time, because there was still all the shame that now there is a white person in their lineage, and the resistance to that, you know, was causing those young boys to leave and to go, you could say, to go to the perpetrator, who is now also part of their lineage, part of their gene pool. So once we addressed and honored great-grandmother's fate and left it for her to deal with it, you could just feel the shift in the whole room. And then when she went back to stand with her twin brother, this time she just hugged the pillow and she sobbed for maybe 20 minutes and finally got reunited with her twin brother. And it became a shift in her recovery from cancer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Divyo.
You're welcome.